Hello, I'm Adam, and I'm here today to talk to you about economics and specifically the failure of the Obama economic policies over the last 3.5 years. And I wanted to talk about this, of course, because the election is heating up and we're going to see a lot of claims about the economy and about Obama's record. And it's been a dismal failure, and I just wanted to go over some of the claims that we made and some of the reality that we've experienced. It's been a terrible failure in demand-side economics, as should have been predicted, because demand-side economics fails always, and it never succeeds, and it will never succeed, because wealth and prosperity do not come from artificially propping up aggregate demand. So one of the claims of the Obama administration, and what the news media will say to prop him up, is that, oh, we inherited a terrible economy and this is the Bush recession. And Obama has brought us into recovery, and we've turned the corner because of his wonderful economic policies, which are basically deficit spending and printing money. And even though the Fed prints money, they're doing it to prop up the economy because of Obama's miserable failure with deficit spending and his anti-business, anti-growth agenda. But I've created a bunch of charts, and one thing I wanted to point out is that most of the job losses happened under Obama's watch because of Obama's policies. Now, it's true we were going into a recession before Obama was elected, and you can see here these first four are quarterly job loss numbers, and in '08 we started losing jobs, and so we were going into a recession. But this recession was also bringing down popping the housing bubble. As the job market softened, people were less able to pay these risky loans that were given to them, and partially because of Obama in his role as an ACON community activist, suing banks and making them make risky loans. And now, of course, he's suing banks for making the risky loans that he sued them to make in the first place. But the point of this chart is to show that here is when Lehman collapsed, October, and this not only made the decision makers, our economic decision makers, the people in business who make decisions about what projects they want to pursue, about expansion of their business activities, about hiring. They had to factor in a bankruptcy of Lehman and probably a good-sized recession, but they also at that point had to factor in a Obama presidency and a takeover of the Congress by Democrats, a big leftward shift in American policy. And of course, Obama got elected here the first week of November, and we see the result, 803,000 jobs lost. And don't forget, these business people are forward-looking. So they're looking at Obama and the Democrats taking over, and they're realizing that this anti-business shift is about to take place. So of course, they were shedding jobs. December, same thing. January, same thing. This is the month Obama was sworn in, 818,000 jobs lost. February, 724,000. March, 799,000. April, 692,000 jobs lost. May, 361. June, 482. This is 6 months after Obama was sworn in and 8 months after he was elected. Again, and this continues even after July. This continued for all of 2009 into 2010. And over the next 7 months, not on this chart, you'll see that there were 820,000 more jobs lost. So if you take a look, you see that most of the job losses happened on Obama's watch because of Obama's policies. And so he says things were falling apart when he got elected. It's because he got elected and because of his policies, as this chart clearly shows. And then, so what are we doing? We're running massive deficits. You can see this particular chart I got off the internet shows the deficit as a percentage of GDP by different presidents. And you can see Obama, I mean, no one's even close to Obama at 10%. I even had, this was an estimate originally, I had to extend it to show the actual abysmal number, which is even worse than the estimates. 10% deficits. Here, this other chart shows that, under the evil Bush years, deficits, were a problem, but Bush, inherited the dot-com bubble bursting, 9/11. But for all Bush's deficits, you can see they pale in comparison to the Obama deficits. We haven't seen anything like this in peacetime in American history. And, well, what have we gotten for it? Have we gotten a recovery? We haven't. We haven't really recovered, and there are still, these jobs have not come back. In addition to the massive deficits we're running, we're also printing money. Here's a chart of the money we printed. Again, you see in the Bush years, very stable money supply. And then the monetary base spikes in the financial crisis, which it probably should have. The Fed's job is to provide liquidity in a crisis. And it did come in and do its job, but since then, over the next 4 years, 3.5 years, we've been printing money just mainly to prop up the economy because of the failure of the Obama redistributionist economics, I call it, the anti-business agenda and demand-side experiment that's failing miserably. So massive deficits, massive printing of money, and what have we gotten? Well, if you look at this chart, you can see the typical recession, the various recessions that we've had after World War II. You see where the economy goes into recession in the business cycle and then recovers. In a recession, recovers. Into recession, recovers. Despite all this massive demand-side stimulus artificially propping up aggregate demand, we haven't recovered. We haven't created jobs. As you can see, here's Obama. By far the worst record in history. Terrible. Look, it's awful. You can see from that chart that these jobs have not come back. Now here's the chart that Obama wants you to see. The only chart. They want you, and his fans in the news media will focus on this particular chart here. I call it the fake unemployment rate. And I call it fake because it doesn't tell the whole story. It doesn't tell the story of people dropping out of the labor force or people who are forced to work part-time because they can't find full-time jobs. So the fake unemployment rate, you can see under Bush down here around 5%, and then it spikes up at the recession. These two green lines, the first one is Obama getting elected, and the second is him being sworn in. So we go up here and we're up around over 10%. And again, this is only a partial picture. And then the fake unemployment rate has come down to around 8.1%. And that's what they want you to see. They want to say Bush recession, Obama's turning the corner. But it's not really true because what's happening, 4/5 of this dip at the end here have come because people are leaving the labor force. You can see this chart. People are dropping out of the labor force. They're going on disability. They're retiring early. They're doing anything they can to just to give up on their job search. So this is the story. This is what results in this small dip here. So we're not seeing a recovery in jobs. We're not seeing a robust expansion. We're barely growing. And you can see here, this is the real story of unemployment. And you can see during the Bush years down here, and then all of a sudden a spike with the recession, but we're still up here around 14%. That's a more accurate picture of the Obama jobs picture. And what have we done for this, for these massive deficits and massive printing of money? This money is still sitting out there. It's not creating inflation yet, but it eventually will. It's a massive money bomb under the United States that when these fish sitting in bank vaults start swimming, they're going to create inflation. So we'll have to deal with that. These deficits, $5 trillion in deficits in 3.5 years. And again, what has it gotten us? It hasn't gotten us very much at all. It's failed. And if you break it down by person, in 3.5 years, the average person is $16,600 in debt for every man, woman, and child in America, just in the last 3.5 years. So if you ask yourself, are you better off? You have to factor in the fact that you're $16,600 more in debt. If you're a married couple, it's over $33,000, just in 3.5 years. And if you're a family of four, $66,000 in debt. When you factor that in, you have to ask yourself, are you better off? And this is totally unsustainable, by the way. It has to come to an end. We're going to be just like Greece in very short order if we don't get away from these disastrous policies, demand-side economics, by artificially propping up aggregate demand. I won't even dignify it by calling it Keynesianism, because Keynes would have been appalled by this reckless spending of money for money's sake. So it hasn't worked, it won't work, and the longer we persist on it, the worse we're going to be. So hopefully we get a change in November and can get on with the, a pro-growth agenda and reforming entitlements, because otherwise we're going to be in very serious trouble in very short order. Thank you.